welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something really fundamental in our lives. The intricate, often powerful relationship between mothers and daughters.
It really is. Such a core relationship.
Yeah, it's a connection that can shape us profoundly. And, well, we've got some fascinating insights to unpack today.
Absolutely. We've been immersed in a collection of very personal accounts. It's titled Unspoken Secrets, When Mothers and Daughters Learn to Understand Each Other.
Unspoken secrets. Okay.
And these are brave explorations, really, into the hidden corners of these relationships,
Yeah.
those things that go unsaid,
Mhm.
and the sometimes difficult path towards genuine understanding.
So our goal today is to really distill the core wisdom from these stories for you.
Yeah, kind of get straight to the heart of it.
Exactly. Think of it as getting straight to the heart of what makes these mother-daughter dynamics tick, and, well, how understanding can actually take root, even after years of maybe feeling a bit lost in translation. Have you ever experienced that? A situation where you feel close to someone, yet there's this unspoken distance.
Oh, definitely.
That's the kind of territory we're navigating today.
And what's really striking across these narratives is this sense of an invisible chasm.
An invisible chasm.
Yeah, it's a powerful way to describe that space, that can grow between mothers and daughters, built brick by brick, kind of by misunderstandings, words that never quite make it out.
And secrets.
And buried secrets, exactly.
And what immediately jumps out are these differing viewpoints that highlight this very chasm,
Right,
right?
you see it straight away.
We hear one mother reflecting something like, I truly believed I was a good mother. I made sure my daughter had everything she needed, her education, nice clothes, opportunity.
All practical stuff.
Yeah. And yet, she says, as she grew, it felt like we were just existing under the same roof, almost like strangers.
That's heavy. And then you hear the daughter's experience, which can be so different.
Completely different perspective.
Totally. Like, my mother equated love with giving gifts, with material things. But what I truly longed for was to feel seen, to be accepted for who I was at my core.
Wow. It really underscores how love languages can be just worlds apart, even in the same family.
It really does, doesn't it? And the source material touches on how these generational differences and even cultural norms around expressing emotions play a huge role in this.
How so?
Well, there can be this unspoken expectation, sometimes on both sides, that you should just inherently know what the other person is thinking or feeling.
Right, like mind reading is required.
Kind of. The collection highlights this tension where mothers often operate with an expectation of unspoken understanding, while daughters crave clear, explicit communication, open dialogue.
It's almost a recipe for crossed wires.
Exactly. Good intentions just get completely lost in translation. And what's fascinating here is how often both are coming from a place of love, genuinely.
Right.
But their needs for how that love is expressed are just so different.
So, okay, let's dig deeper into those unspoken secrets. What kinds of things end up creating these divides, these walls?
Well, the weight of these secrets, as the stories reveal, it really comes from both sides. It's not just one person.
Okay.
Mothers in these accounts often carry the burden of, say, unfulfilled ambitions,
Yeah.
dreams they've given up.
Right. Things they maybe never thought about.
Exactly. Or the private pain of marital difficulties they shielded their daughters from. And also just this persistent fear of not measuring up as a parent.
That fear of inadequacy.
Yeah. One mother confided something like, there were so many things I kept hidden. The dreams I had to let go of. The lonely nights. The constant worry that I was feeling.
Wow. And on the flip side, the daughter.
Daughters often felt the weight of expectations, societal,
The pressure.
agreeable, successful, a source of pride. So they kept their own authentic desires.
They had their secrets too.
And absolutely, as the one daughter put it, there's this constant expectation. But rarely is there space to ask what pressure we face or what truly sets our souls on fire.
It's like everyone's carrying this emotion.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the collection makes a really astute observation about this.
What's that?
It says, the paradox is that often this silence stems from a desire to protect one another.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Yet that very silence becomes the source of greater pain. Each secret held back is a missed opportunity for genuine connection.
Wow. So the intention is good, but the impact.
The impact is the opposite. It's a fascinating, if kind of unfortunate, dynamic.
So what sparks a change then? in these relationships? What are those pivotal moments where the silence starts to crack?
The source material points to a really significant catalyst. A growing awareness that time is finite.
Right, that ticking clock feeling.
Yeah, coupled with a deep, almost primal yearning for understanding before it's maybe too late. As one individual reflected, there was this dawning realization that life is moving forward, and the thought of not truly knowing or being known by my mother felt unbearable.
That sense of urgency.
It could be incredibly powerful, yeah.
And we see some really specific examples in the stories, don't we, of those first brave steps towards opening up.
We do. One mother recounted. She said, "It was just an ordinary evening, nothing particularly special.
Okay.
But out of nowhere, my mother started to cry and began sharing stories about her own childhood.
Wow, vulnerability.
About the strictness of her own mother, and how she consciously tried to avoid those patterns, only to realize she had unintentionally created new ones."
Oh, that's huge. That moment of vulnerability seems so huge.
Absolutely. And from the daughter's side, we have a powerful example. My daughter poured her heart out in this long letter, expressing feelings and experiences she had never voiced directly. My mother said, "Reading those words, I felt like I was encountering not the daughter I thought I knew so well."
It highlights how sometimes just shifting the mode of communication can unlock growth, right?
Definitely. Face-to-face just isn't enough.
And then there's the profound impact of a sincere apology. That can be huge.
Oh, massively. My daughter shared. For what felt like and she did something she had never done before. She apologized. Yeah, she said it wasn't a dismissive, half-hearted apology, but a genuine acknowledgement of her imperfections, her own journey of learning how to be a mother every single day.
That feels like a monumental step in bridging that gap. Just acknowledging you're still learning.
Huge. And the text uses a really compelling image here.
Yeah.
It says it's like a wound that must be carefully opened and cleaned in order to truly heal.
That makes sense. Painful, but necessary.
Right. That initial act of bringing the truth into the open, even if it's uncomfortable, is so crucial for any real healing to actually begin.
Okay, so once that initial step is taken, that first crack appears. What does the ongoing process of healing look like? Because it's not a one-time fix, is it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
No. The stories really emphasize the need for sustained effort. It's work.
Right.
A recurring theme is the establishment of regular, judgment-free conversation.
Okay, setting up structure.
One account shared, "We made a point of meeting for coffee every week, and we have one fundamental rule. No judgment, no anger.
Just listen.
Just a space for listening and sharing without defensiveness, creating that consistent safe space."
And it sounds like a significant shift in perspective happens during this process, where they start to see each other differently.
Exactly. As individuals, not just roles. One daughter came to the realization, she said, "I began to understand that my mother, was a woman with her own unique dreams, fears, and past hurts."
Humanizing her.
Totally. That humanizing perspective really shifted my ability to empathize and ultimately forgive. Seeing the other person's complete humanity, their own personal history, it fosters a much deeper connection.
It's almost as if these relationships can evolve into a kind of friendship. Is that fair to say?
That's a beautiful way to describe it, actually. The text touches on this.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, noting how we gradually started to relate to each other more like friends. One mother said, "I made a conscious effort to stop imposing my expectations on my daughter."
Letting go of control.
And in response, she began to open up more freely. And another daughter shared, "When I truly grasped that my mother had once been my age, had navigated her own set of challenges, I stopped seeing her as an authority figure and started seeing her as a fellow traveler."
Wow, a fellow traveler. I like that.
That move towards a more sort of peer-like dynamic seems essential for genuine understanding.
The stories really underscore that healing isn't quick.
Definitely. Healing in these relationships isn't a destination you arrive at, but an ongoing journey.
Right.
One heartfelt conversation is a starting point, but it requires consistent time, patience, and a real commitment from both sides.
Yeah.
You have to keep nurturing it.
And actively nurturing that connection over time. Yeah.
Exactly. And where the fundamental lessons that emerges again and again is the power of acceptance.
Acceptance.
Yeah. True healing begins when we learn to love others, not for who we wish they would be, but for who they truly are, flaws and all.
Letting go of those ideals.
Exactly, that letting go of idealized expectations and embracing the other person's authentic self, it's so transformative.
The source material actually offers some direct and valuable advice, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Some really clear takeaways.
What are some of the key ones specifically for mothers and for daughters?
Okay, so for mothers, a powerful message is don't be afraid to show vulnerability.
Be open.
Right. When you allow yourself to be seen as imperfect, your children won't think less of you. In fact, they'll often respect you more for your honesty.
Interesting. So vulnerability builds respect.
That willingness to be open about their own struggles can actually strengthen the bond in unexpected ways.
Yeah. And what about for daughters? What's the key insight there?
The advice is to really internalize that parents are, at the end of the day, just people doing the best they can with what they have.
Seeing their humanity again.
Yeah. There will be times when they simply don't have all the answers, just like us. Recognizing their humanity, their limitations, it can foster greater compassion and a more realistic understanding of their actions.
The text also really emphasizes the importance of stepping into those difficult conversations, doesn't it? Even when it's hard.
Absolutely, it's a core message. Dare to initiate those uncomfortable conversations.
Lean into the discomfort.
Pretty much. Don't allow unspoken resentments and pain to accumulate and become lifelong burdens. While these dialogues can be challenging, they're often the necessary first step towards clearing the air and moving towards a healthier dynamic.
And that recurring message, that it's never too late to begin this process, that must be so encouraging for people listening.
It truly is. So hopeful. One quote was, "And always remember, it's never too late to start trying to understand each other better."
Mm-hmm.
And someone else added, "I honestly believe my relationship with my mother was fixed, like unchangeable. But now, looking back, we're closer than we've ever been."
Wow. Real stories of change.
Yeah, these stories offer tangible hope for reconciliation and a deeper connection, regardless of past difficulties or, how much time has passed.
It's interesting how the source touches on those underlying cultural assumptions we often have about family love.
Yes, it challenges this idea,
Mm-hmm.
this sort of implicit assumption.
That it's just automatic.
Exactly. In many cultures, there's an implicit assumption that family love is automatic, a given, and therefore doesn't require active expression or nurturing.
But that's not the reality.
But the reality, as these stories illustrate, is that every relationship, including the profound bond between mother and daughter, requires consistent care and attention, like a garden,
Yeah, you have to tend to it. It's a reminder that these connections aren't static. They need ongoing effort.
Mm-hmm.
And the final core insight really brings it all together, doesn't it?
It does. It feels like the ultimate takeaway. Perhaps the most profound lesson we can glean from these personal stories is this. There is no such thing as a perfect mother or a perfect daughter.
Accepting imperfection.
They're just individuals trying to navigate a deeply complex relationship the best way they know how. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to be brave enough to speak your truth, even when it feels difficult or painful.
Wow. Speak your truth.
Ultimately, what these stories reveal is that while unspoken secrets can indeed create significant walls,
These chasms we talked about.
right, but the courage to open those lines of communication, to embrace vulnerability, and to actively strive for genuine understanding, those are the essential keys.
Keys to building stronger bonds.
Stronger, more authentic, and ultimately more fulfilling bonds. These narratives offer a really powerful message of hope, I think, and the real possibility of healing and deeper connection.
That's a great summary. So as you've listened to this deep dive, maybe take a moment. Consider an unspoken dynamic in one of your own significant relationships.
Good prompt.
What might shift if even a small part of that was brought into the light? It's definitely something to think about.
It is, and we truly hope these insights encourage you, to reflect on the potential for greater understanding and connection in your own life.
Through honest, open communication.
Exactly, even when it's tough.